Hi, my name is Dr. Robert Grogan, and today we are starting our next sequence of videos, part 2 of Clarinet Pedagogy. So the agenda for these next two videos, first we are going to be talking a year-long overview and pacing for the start of the school year, and then the next video is going to be pacing for November through May and crossing the break. Considerations for developing your clarinet curriculum. So a couple things to think about when having clarinets in your band is, first of all, what is the structure of your band? Do you have a clarinet class, which is probably the least amount of you? This is the most uncommon, at least for where we teach. What's common in my area where I teach at is homogeneous classes. That's either all brass classes or all woodwind classes. And most likely if you have homogeneous classes, the clarinets are in the full woodwind class. Probably most of everybody watching this video would be starting clarinet players within a full band setting. And so they would be starting along with brass players, percussionists, and all the woodwinds as well. Also, when thinking about your curriculum, what's your schedule like? In my school district, we have quarters and we also have semesters. There are 2 semesters per year, but 2 quarters per semester. So the year is divided up into 4 quarters. Every 2 quarters is a semester. And then is that a grading period? Do you grade every semester or do you grade every quarter? With my district, we grade every quarter and we send out report cards every quarter. So which is roughly about every 9 weeks in our school district. Also, how many concerts do you have scheduled? Because we're going to be thinking really beginning with the end in mind from the end of the school year. My school, I do 2 6th grade concerts. I do one in December and one in May. So I'm thinking, what do I want them to accomplish by the end of May? And also, what do I want them to accomplish by the end of December? And also, what do you have in your school for academic accountability and grading? You might be teaching at a school that needs a percentage of summative evaluations to formative evaluations. You might have assessment tools at your disposal. My district pays for some software assessment tools. You might have some requirements to use certain rubrics or maybe posting rubrics on a certain site. What kind of assessment and accountability tools and prerequisites you have with your school do you need? And also, what's your beginning band curriculum? Do you use a book? What book do you use? A lot of the books are very similar to each other. They're all kind of going back to the old Suzuki method and the Suzuki songs, but later adapted for concert band and beginning band. A lot of very popular books are used. Or do you come up with your own curriculum, or some people even use a mix of different materials? I use a method book. And then I supplement the method book with some of my own materials because I really believe that no method book really has enough repetition of new concepts. So we'll teach a new concept and then just find a way to repeat and repeat and repeat that concept, because I really think that a student does not really understand a concept until they can sight read that concept within context. All right, beginning with the end in mind. What do you believe beginner clarinet should be able to do by the end of the school year? So here's my example that I use. I do have a clarinet class. My class is exclusively clarinet players. Usually I have about 30 to 40 clarinet players in this class. They meet all by themselves. So that's the only, and I teach the clarinet class. So that's the only instrument in this class. I've taught clarinet in beginning band, full beginning band settings, and I've also taught them in homogeneous woodwind classes. So this might be more cloud in the sky to you. This might be more what would be ideal if you have the same situation as mine. But I also do think that these are pretty good goals to shoot for. So by the end of May, here's what I would like my beginning clarinet players to do. First of all, I would like all of them to have the proper embouchure and voicing to be able to produce an F sharp on both the mouthpiece and the barrel. Next, ideally, in a perfect world, I would like for them to be able to do a 2-octave C major scale, which is concert B flat, which does require them to go over the break and back down. I can honestly say probably 80% of my kids are doing this. And if they've got that C major scale, the G major scale's not that difficult for them. So those 2 scales I would like for them to do 2 octaves by the end of the year. Play throat tone A to clarion B. This is that A to B with all the fingers down, repeatedly in 8th notes crossing the break. I'm going to have another video in a couple videos from now where I'm talking specifically about this warm-up and what we do. Perform F concert Remingtons from the clarion G. That's the G, playing with all left hand and the register key. Also being able to sight read grade 1 music, which is a very modest goal by the end of the 6th grade school year. So here's an example timeline on how I achieve this goal, and this is pretty close to my pacing. August is instrument selection, and then we do a lot of rhythms. We do rhythms on mouthpieces quite a bit. Mouthpiece assembly, embouchure formation, and articulation. I mentioned in a previous video that articulation needs to come right away. You have time to fix tone. You don't have time to fix articulation. You are racing against the clock before you develop bad habits. September, articulation exercises to rhythmic examples. Call and response with mouthpiece and barrel. I play, you play, we call it D, 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 D. Kids play D, 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 da, 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 and the kids would echo back to me. So we are continually doing our embouchure checkpoints, which I discussed in a previous video. We're talking, I'm asking the kids what gets the rhythm, the tongue or the air, and they repeat back to me the tongue does the rhythm, not the air. By September, we are learning notes G, F, and E. After we do mouthpiece and barrel for about a month, we do the upper joint. I let them put the upper joint on, and we are just focusing on left hand. They're holding the clarinet with their right hand by the barrel and focusing on making sure that the left hand fingers are down. By October, we continue playing on the upper joint. We learn D, C, and A, rocking up to A. We teach this rocking motion to A for that teardrop shaped key. By then, they should have the proper voicing to produce an F sharp on the mouthpiece and the barrel. If you're doing your checkpoints every time and you're talking consistently every day about that embouchure and their tongue, middle of their tongue being near the roof of their mouth and holding that tongue position, we perform Twinkle Twinkle in the Book, and we also assemble the rest of the clarinet. I think if most of your kids are at whatever method book you use, they almost all have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which is the first 6 notes that the kids learn. October is a good goal to be able to do that by October. And so that basically takes us to October with the book, with what we're learning. So far we have done we've assembled the whole clarinet, but it's been month by month. The first month, we're only really taking care of the instrument, putting the mouthpiece together, and that does take a long time. It takes a long time to walk around the room, inspect if their reeds are straight, if their ligatures are low enough. A lot of times, young kids, their ligatures will be up high. Most mouthpieces have a line around the mouthpiece to put the ligature lower than, but then don't look at just the top of the reed, but also the bottom of the reed. Make sure that it's straight. And I basically I would say the first 2 weeks I do that every day. I walk around the room and I say I give recognition to the students who put together the perfect clarinet. Then we're doing mouthpiece and barrel work, and we're constantly talking about embouchures and articulation. September, we're learning notes. The barrel goes together. We're doing the first couple songs in the book, and then by October, we're doing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Whole clarinet comes together, and we assemble the rest of the clarinet. So I hope that was helpful to you. The next video in the series is going to be November through the rest of the year.